Welcome to today's seminar on environmental management systems. So what we're going to do today is we are going to examine environmental management systems. We're going to look at drawbacks through which they're commonly implemented and how to address those drawbacks. And this will include a top 10 tips of having a sustainable environmental management system. Environmental management systems are typically used for controlling pollution, complying with the law, and driving continual improvement of an organisation's downstream environmental impacts. I'd like to explain how an environmental management system, as well as fulfilling these objectives, can be used to drive wider environmental and sustainability strategy, such as through incorporating social as well as environmental aspects. There are various types of environmental management system. The most famous and most well known and recognised internationally is ISO 14001. Environmental management systems conform to the plan, do, check, act model. You plan, you identify the ways and means in which an organisation interacts with the environment. You assess their severity. You put in place plans for controlling the impacts and improving those impacts over time. Do, you put in place plans, policies and procedures to make the environmental protection happen. Check, you audit the effectiveness of the do stage. And act, you use a management input to ensure that the improvements are made, and then hence you begin the cycle again. Any environmental management system traditionally will have three elements: to prevent pollution, to comply with the law and perhaps other requirements if they apply in particular sectors, and thirdly, continual improvement. Now, it's this requirement for continual improvement which makes environmental management systems quite powerful. And this principle can be used to drive a wide range of initiatives, including social as well as environmental gains. And it can be used as a very useful and powerful strategic tool. So what is an environmental management system? Now this section is quite brief really. What we're going to say is environmental management system is a framework that helps a company achieve its environmental goals through consistent control of its operations. Obviously, the assumption being that increased control will improve the environmental performance of the company. The EMS itself does not dictate a level of environmental performance that must be achieved. Each company's EMS is tailored to the company's business and goals. You decide where the boundaries go. An EMS encourages a company to continuously improve its environmental performance, using the repeating cycle as we looked at previously. Because you're continuously going through the plan, do, check, act cycle, you attain continuous improvement. Key to an environmental management system is an environmental policy, which will set out the ways in which an organisation can harm the environment or does harm the environment, and objectives for improvement. In the UK, three main types of environmental management system are encountered: ISO 14001, the European Eco-Management and Audit Scheme, and BS 8555 or ACORN. ISO 14001 is a very flexible framework document. So flexible, in fact, that it can be applied to any industrial sector, commercial sector, anywhere in the world, and it has been. This is why it's so popular internationally. It has this flexibility in how it can be applied. However, it can be externally accredited and certified, or it can be internally certified. So there's a different ways of judging how robust the system is. Now, the EMAS, the European Eco-Management Audit Scheme, is slightly more robust in that it requires the organisation to register with a central body. This registration body then provides auditing. It's also more stringent because the information that has been made publicly available includes all of the performance against the environmental objectives and targets. ISO 14001 just requires the organisation to make the environmental policy available. Now, BS 8555 is aligned with ISO 14001, but it enables an organisation to go for the implementation of an environmental management system in phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 and phase 5, and become certified against each of those phases. By the time they reach phase 5, this is equivalent to a 14001 system, and the two can be cross-certified. This phased nature means that some degree of accreditation can be attained in a short amount of time or without too much allocation of resources, so it might be more applicable for a small to medium-sized organisation which may not have the resources to go for a full 14001 environmental management system in the first instance, while still getting recognition. One of the main drivers for environmental management systems is supply chain. Companies want to buy from organisations which they think are sustainable. And it's this pressure through the supply chain which drives environmental management systems and accreditations. Environmental management systems truly international. Here's some examples of elements of ISO 14001 from different countries and different sectors. It really does cut across all sectors. The flexibility of the standard means that it can be readily adapted to local legislation, a variety of environmental impacts, and political and economic environments. It has this international recognition. A great deal of growth in the uptake of 14001 in particular has been in the Far East, and this has been largely due to supply chain. And we'll look at some figures in a moment. Why? Because it reduces risk, it provides a framework for managing environmental impact, it can save money, as well as wider supply chain considerations. This figure here shows ISO 14001 accreditations. So these are systems which have been put in place and they've had an external body come in and accredit the environmental management system, hence this information is available. As you can see from the graph, it runs from 1999 to 2009, and the growth has been immense. It's gone from less than 10,000 accreditations in 1999 to the end of the decade of more than 200,000. The largest growth has been in the Far East, and with a similar amount of growth also in Europe. Why? Supply chain is the most is the reason for the biggest part of the growth, both in Europe and Far East. Purchasers are requiring for organisations to address their environmental impacts. Having a 14001 accreditation is one step in showing that this is being done. This can be because of a sustainable procurement policy, a CSR policy, a sustainability strategy, or other reasons. One thing that must be remembered when looking at environmental management systems is that these are voluntary. There is nowhere in the world where it is a legal requirement to have an environmental management system to ISO 14001 or any other standard. It's purely voluntary. So, we can summarise the benefits of having an environmental management system into 4 categories: environmental, management, financial and stakeholder, of which there are various. An environmental benefit may be reducing an organisation's carbon footprint, increasing the amount of recycling that's done, reducing waste to landfill, reducing ecotoxicity, many different benefits. Management benefits could be ensuring that staff have the right level of training, having full management of environmental impacts, knowing the bigger picture. Financial benefits, manifold, utility savings, savings on buying resources, saving on landfill fees, saving on fines, saving on regulatory costs. Stakeholder benefits. Now these are often one of the most significant motivators to an organisation having an environmental management system. So stakeholder benefits could be a better place in the supply chain. There could be better relationship with regulator, better relationship with customers, better relationship with internal staff. There are various stakeholder benefits. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to talk about the 10 sins of having an environmental management system, 10 ways in which they often fall short. Following that, I'm going to give you 10 environmental management systems pointers for success. And with our 10 pointers for success, I'm going to give you detail on each of these. So first of all, 10 EMS sins. 1. Bureaucratic. An EMS can often generate a lot of documentation. An EMS can often be seen as a rather lengthy, difficult, time-consuming exercise, which isn't achieving great benefits through the way it's been implemented. An EMS can often be seen as costly due to the requirement of staff time, accreditation costs of consultants. So it can be seen as a box-ticking exercise, just something that's done perhaps to show stakeholders that there's an EMS in place, which is a real shame because, as we're going to talk about in a moment, an environmental management system can bring a whole host of benefits as well as showing your stakeholders that you're looking after the environment. The EMS may not be robust, it may not engage with staff, so missing a huge opportunity there. It's a big one. No absolute requirements on environmental performance. An EMS does not say exactly how to protect the environment and by how much. So it's down to the organisation implementing the EMS as to how well they protect the environment. It could be static, no sort of not too much change over time. Management may be blasé about it. It may not be supported from the top and hence it's not worked very well. It may not support wider sustainability strategy or social and the links between social, environmental and economic areas. It may not be ambitious enough. So, our 10 EMS pointers for success, and I will just list these quickly because we're going to go into each one by detail. Vision, engage, change for good, make it dynamic, keep it simple and straightforward, be wise, pay it back, be ambitious, keep talking, and reap the benefits. So our first one, vision. Backcast from the end result. Now what I mean by this is use your environmental management system and set it up and have a final vision of what you want it to achieve. This makes it easier to set plans and programs to support this rather than taking baby steps without a particular strategic vision of where you want to go. If you want an organisation which you want to be sustainable in the long term, then you can use an environmental management system to make that happen. It really has that power. A key part of an environmental management system is having environmental policy. You need to make sure this is sufficiently ambitious and you can incorporate short, medium and long-term targets to support this. For example, a short or medium-term target may be reduce carbon emissions 5% year on year, and a longer-term target may be we aim to be carbon neutral by the year 2020. It's having that final vision that's important. Having a vision of where you're going to take the environmental management system, or should I say where the environmental management system is going to take your company, also helps sell it and engage with people. If they have a positive, optimistic, ambitious future vision of where your organisation is going, then you're more likely to get people on board, even if it's going to take a long time to get there. Number 2, engage. Use your staff to make it happen. It ain't going to work without people to support it. An EMS shouldn't be left solely in the hands of an environmental manager or a consultant, as though of course specialist advice and support is needed. Engage all of your internal stakeholders at the beginning. Get their ideas on a sustainable vision for the company and let them have certain ownership of the process. With staff engagement comes success, particularly if part of your environmental management system will involve behaviour change programs. Use your staff wisely. Depending on your size and type of your organisation, it may be an opportunity to use environmental champions to help drive the outline ambitions in your environmental management system. Number 3, change for good. Use your environmental management system as a tool for real change. Now, continual improvement is a key element of an EMS. Be ambitious. An environmental management system can be a way to encourage senior managers to invest in elements such as energy efficiency, for example, or training. Because you've put something in your environmental management system, then you are required to put it into place, to make it happen. You decide what the boundaries of your system are and what goes into it. Of course, the drawback to this is that an environmental management system doesn't set absolute requirements on environmental performance. That is a voluntary requirement. But an environmental management system can be used as a powerful agent for change, particularly because when you get to, if you remember the plan, do, check, act cycle, when you get to the act part, you are needing to engage senior management to make sure that the environmental management system is working, and the input that senior management is making sure that change is happening. Number 4, make it dynamic. It's not just a paper chase. An EMS can become rather bureaucratic if not used effectively. All of these written material of these policies, procedures, aspects and impacts registers, legal registers, reports, audit reports and forms, although they're necessary, should not detract from the purpose of the system. Keep it dynamic. Don't just use written procedures for communicating key messages. Although the key parts of an EMS system will be documented, the information can be presented to internal and external stakeholders in a variety of creative ways. Number 5, documentation. Keep it simple and straightforward. ISO 14001 and any other type of environmental management system will have a requirement for document control. Certain organisations implementing an EMS often allow this document control to become quite elaborate and hence taking up quite a lot of resources. It's not worth spending a large amount of resources on document control. A simple system, usually IT based, for preventing uncontrolled versions of documents is sufficient. So a system using a password and version control is enough. What's important, because you're trying to show how you've improved over time, that all previous documentation and records are archived in some way. Number 6, be wise. Use your environmental management system as part of a wider sustainability or CSR strategy. Many companies have a strategy to deliver sustainability. This will include social as well as environmental objectives, such as community engagement, for example. An environmental management system has the flexibility, if you want it, to incorporate social as well as environmental objectives. An environmental management system currently does not speak of strategic planning, so implementation of this is voluntary. Traditionally, an environmental management system is used to control downstream environmental impacts, but because it has this core element of continual improvement, it can be used as a tool for driving forward sustainable strategy. This could include community engagement, reduction in carbon footprint, improving supply chain issues and purchasing policy. It's important to join up strategy with an environmental management system so the two can work together effectively. Number 7, Pay it back. Use an environmental management system as a tool to make cost savings. Now, an environmental management system should at least be cost neutral in the medium to longer term. Inherent costs involved with an environmental management system include staff, time to set it up, the time of an environmental manager, cost of using internal or external consultants, cost of accreditation, as well as associated capex costs to make changes inherent to driving internal improvement, such as investment in energy efficiency measures, or improved waste management, or different types of materials, whatever those costs may be. However, savings, which help pay this back, are the major marketing and supply chain. Better position in the marketplace, able to work with a larger variety of buyers and suppliers, resulting from a better external reputation. Having an environmental management system also improves the internal reputation, so it may have an effect on the morale of staff. They feel they're working for an organisation which cares about the environment and looks after the environment, as well as driving down the cost of utilities in the longer run, particularly through the implementation of energy savings or resource efficiency schemes. In essence, an environmental management system should be viewed as an invest to save initiative. Short-term cost versus medium, long-term savings. Point number 8, be ambitious but be smart for success. So as we mentioned before, it's important to be ambitious with a system. And the voluntary aspect of an environmental management system means you can be as little or as much ambitious as you want to be. But you must make sure that you're realistic. You've got to set targets and objectives which you can monitor and measure readily. And it's important that these objectives and targets are robust and can be compared to show improvement over time, and they can actually be met. It's important when setting targets to have a baseline against which these targets can be measured and a time reference so that they're meaningful. Point number 9. Keep talking. Communication is key to making things happen. Since one of the main benefits of having an environmental management system is stakeholder issues. So communication to those stakeholder issues as to why you're having an environmental management system, how you're putting it in place, once it's in place, what is it doing, and what improvements are being achieved. The benefits of this have to be maximised. ISO 14001 and BS 8555 only require the policy to be communicated. However, with EMAS, everything should be communicated. Communication can be done through a variety of means, perhaps through annual reporting, through the use of a web-based system. You could do it through marketing materials, or through the use of social media. Finally, our last pointer to a successful environmental management system is reap the benefits. Make the most of what you've got. So once it's in place, you should maximise the benefits. An environmental management system should not just be a bureaucratic box-ticking exercise in order to be able to trade with somebody. It's really an opportunity to bring a whole host of benefits. These could include the financial benefits. We've talked about savings in utilities, but you may find it easier to raise investment from banks and in other financial institutions, which are increasingly keen to see businesses controlling their environmental impact, as well as the increased sales opportunities. Large businesses and government departments may only deal with businesses that have an environmental management system. Another benefit may be lighter regulation. Even if an EMS is not a regulatory requirement, by showing your commitment to environmental management, you may benefit through less frequent site visits from regulators or reduced fees from fines. So I'm going to finish by talking about a little bit about the future of environmental management systems. So the current version has been with us since 2004, and the current version is flexible and effective, but some additions and enhancements are needed. The ISO 14001 is due to be revised and reissued by 2015. At the present, it's been going through a consultation process. Two main areas which have come up are requirement to link it to business strategy, which we've talked about in this presentation, and that's likely to become a more formal requirement. The second part is the ability of the environmental management system to identify and adjust to impacts from a changing environment, so perhaps a change in the markets in which an organisation operates, or a change in activities. So that concludes today's session on environmental management systems. If you have any more queries, then please don't hesitate to get in contact with us here at Workplace Law. We hope to speak to you soon.